How fortunate we are today to have the opportunity to speak with Terry George, who is President and CEO of Castle Foundation. Mahalo for joining us, and thank you for taking the time.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity.
Castle Foundation, this is, Windward Side is your stomping ground.
Windward Side has been an important part of the history and formation and continued work of the foundation. Harold Kainalu Long Castle, who was third-generation missionary family, rented and then purchased Kaneohe Ranch, which owned most of Kailua back at the turn of the century. And about half a century later, he started this foundation, giving it gifts of land and ultimately endowing it to be a resource for Hawaii for forever.
So when we speak about a foundation as a nonprofit organization, what sort of projects do you have involved, and who gets in, who's participating, and where are you located?
Well, we're located in Maunawili, right at Castle Junction, right where the Pali Highway is currently stopped, but it'll get started again soon. Our mission really is to close the achievement and attainment gap in public and higher education in Hawaii, restore the health of our nearshore fisheries, and those are statewide parts of our mission. And third is local. It's really to strengthen the vibrancy of communities in Windward Oahu from Kahuku Point to Makapu'u Lighthouse.
Those are fairly divergent projects or different areas. How do they integrate, and how does it work together?
Well, sometimes they work together and sometimes they're a little separately. But I think one of the ways that they work together, Lila, that's I think exciting, there's been this resurgence of aina-based education around the restoration of fish ponds, lo'i for kalo, and just a celebration and deepening of Hawaiian culture. So to the extent that these places, as well as our nearshore fishery restoration efforts, can be seen as some of the best classrooms for learning science, social studies, engineering, civics, then I think they integrate together.
And so actually, even though you're based in Maunawili or in the Windward Side, your grantees are all over the state.
We are. I think we've impacted over 100 public schools around the state. A lot of our most cutting-edge work in strengthening leadership in our public schools is actually in western side of Hawaii Island. Same thing with nearshore marine resource conservation. There's a lot of innovation there, also on Molokai, also on Kauai, just to give a few examples.
So maybe you could speak a little bit more about the fish pond restoration or some of the water projects that you have.
Sure, and one is a grantee that's really near here. Paipaio Heia, as you know, is an 800-year-old fish pond that sits on Kamehameha School's land that a wonderful nonprofit has been working to restore for the last 20 years. And they came to us to ask for dollars, not just for operating costs, but to hire a firm called Townscape to develop a master plan that would make sense. And so we gave a small amount for that, and we've also helped them set up a homegrown internship program so that area high school and college students could get their hands wet and dirty. And as a result, they've built tremendous community support for what they're doing.
So in your personal and professional background, you all over the world doing the volunteer work that you have done, how does this particular foundation touch you the deepest?
It's personal for me because I grew up in Hawaii and I will remain in Hawaii for my entire life. I was privileged to be able to work for the Ford Foundation in many countries in South Asia and Southeast Asia, and I learned a lot from that. And I'm applying a lot of what I learned there to Hawaii. But now I want to make sure that we're not just through our grant trying to make a difference, but that we truly are making a lasting and meaningful difference for Hawaii's future.
So if you had some advice as our conversation comes to an end to anyone listening who wants to participate in really making a difference, that sounds so trite, but what advice would you give them? Where would they look? What would they ask?
Well, there are many different ways of doing philanthropy, and so I would urge people to find out what they're passionate about, what problem they want to solve, and instead of just getting angry, get smart and get going. You can and should think big, but it's okay to start small. Second is there are people who take one starfish, as the metaphor goes, and throws it back. We want to save all the starfish. So we've been working really, that's why we work directly with the Department of Education and the University of Hawaii and the Division of Aquatic Resources. We're building their capacity long-term to work with communities to do right for what's for kids and to do what's right for our nearshore coral reef ecosystems.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your leadership and the work that you do. We'll look forward in future programs to hear a little bit more.
Thanks so much, Lila. I look forward to that.
You've just had the opportunity to listen in on my conversation with Terry George, who is President and CEO of Castle Foundation. We're here at Windward Community College. Mahalo for joining us.